All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Shopify. So in Shopify, as you can tell, this is a real Shopify account. I actually have a Shopify platform that I use where I sell QuickBooks Desktop because I'm a reseller. All my orders are going to come in through Shopify. In the QuickBooks side, typically the only thing that we're going to see in QuickBooks is the net merchant money that came from Shopify. So we're going to see money coming in from PayPal or money coming in from Stripe, right? But then that net doesn't give me a lot of information. Basically, it just says what's the total money that came in into your bank. As a matter of fact, let me run a report here, which shows me all my payments. I'm going to show you something here real quick, so you can see. So in my Shopify account, I actually have two payment providers. I have Shopify Payments and I have PayPal. So depending on what the customer chooses when they pay, if they just put a credit card number or if they click PayPal, the actual money coming into my QuickBooks, it's going to be two potential different sources. So the net payment data coming in from Shopify, for the most part, is not that valuable. Typically, what people want to see is they want to see the total sales by category, for example, or the total sales by product, or the total sales by customer. And they'll want to pull some sort of reports for that. And for that, you need individual order information coming into QuickBooks. Now, when Brittany comes in and talks about how she works with Amazon, she might discourage you from downloading individual orders into QuickBooks Online. So that's really up to you whether you want to do that or not. So that's sort of open to discussion. So here where it says settings on the bottom left, we're going to go into, actually not settings, sorry, we're going to go into apps on the left hand side, and we're going to add an app. One thing that's interesting about Shopify in particular is the Shopify in Shopify, you add QuickBooks as an app instead of adding Shopify as an app in QuickBooks. So, in other words, if you want to connect Shopify to QuickBooks using the built in free app, you have to actually do the connection inside Shopify, not in QuickBooks. As a matter of fact, let me show you something. If I was in QuickBooks and I were to click on apps and I were to search Shopify, for example, notice that there's a couple of options here. We got Shopify by Sushio. Sushio is the integrator. We have e-commerce sync by WebGility. We're going to talk about WebGility in a second. We have OneSaaS. We have A2X. All right, there's actually no direct connection per se app to QuickBooks. You actually have to use a third-party app to connect the data. Now, Shopify has branded a third-party app by a company called Bold as the built-in app that's Shopify in QuickBooks, and it's free. And look at the ratings. The ratings are horrible. But even though the ratings are horrible, people will use the app anyway. So the reason why I'm showing you is not because I'm recommending it, is because you'll probably bump into a customer that connected Shopify to QuickBooks and say, hey, I connected my Shopify to QuickBooks, and it's confusing. And then now it's for you to understand what exactly is going on. So you can do the connection from here. So most apps allow you to add the app from here. This app cannot be added from here. It has to be added from Shopify. Hopefully that's clear. So when I search for the apps, so I'm going to go to visit the Shopify App Store. From Shopify, I'm going to search for QuickBooks, sort of an inverse app shopping here. So I'm going to search for QuickBooks, and then this will give you a list of all the related apps with QuickBooks. I notice there's a couple here. And this one that says QuickBooks Sync by Bold, that says free available, this is actually the only truly free one. Okay, even though I'm going to click free here, all these here you have to pay. So see, it says free to install, but not free to use. So the only integrator that I know that's free is this one that's called Shopify Sync by Bold, which is what they're claiming to be the built-in app. So in Shopify's marketing messaging that says integrates with QuickBooks, this is exactly what they mean. Okay, so we're going to click on Add App, and I'm adding the Bold app, the QuickBooks Sync app, to my Shopify ecosystem. It's not the other way. So this will give me a quick question is, hey, I'm going to sync in customers' email information. I'm going to sync in my products and my inventory. All right, so this basically lets you know all the things that the app will have access to. So you want to make sure before you give any app access to QuickBooks to know and be okay with the stuff that the app has access to. So after you read all the data that QuickBooks Online and Shopify will have access to, and we agree, of course, we're gonna click on Install App. There we go. So the free version of it for small companies is 30 orders or less. So we're gonna click Select. And by the way, if you have to pay for an app, don't pay for this one, because this one's horrible. And we're gonna click Accept. And then I'm gonna click on Connect to QuickBooks. Someone's asking me, why are you showing us this app if it's horrible? Because most of your customers will do this. They'll do it before you get there, right? They won't give you any warning. They're just going to come in and connect the app and do this without you even knowing. So what I want to walk you through is the limits that it has. So right now, I have my Shopify account and my QuickBooks account connected. Now it's time to do mapping. So the first one is, hey, for all the sales, what account should I link this to? So just to simplify things, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into QuickBooks and I'm going to go into my chart of accounts and I'm going to create a income account called Shopify Sales. So I'm going to go to New here. I'm going to create an income account and I'll pick one of these guys here. And I'm going to call this one Shopify Sales. And that should make it easier when we're reading the data that's being brought in. So I went to my chart of accounts, I put Shopify Sales. I'm going to click on Refresh Settings. So it actually goes back and rereads the new chart of accounts. And Kathy's asking, which paid app do you recommend? I personally recommend Webgility. I'm going to let Brittany answer this because she's a more of, this is her niche, right? My niche is QuickBooks Enterprise, and I like Webgility for QuickBooks Enterprise. For QBO, I don't know if Webgility is the best choice, but I'll let Brittany answer that. I like Webgility, but it's a really expensive app compared to this. So especially the free option. So I'm going to click on Shopify Sales. That's the income account mapping. And then we have a couple of more mapping like gift card liability, PayPal deposits, and payment deposits. So typically payment deposits is going to be an undeposited funds. Gift card liability, we should create a liability account for that. And PayPal deposits, we should create a bank account for PayPal. So let's go back into the chart of accounts and let's create each one of those. So I'm going to create a new bank account and we'll call this one PayPal Bank. Okay, and I'm going to go to Save and New. And then I'm going to create an other current liability called, I don't think we have a good category for this, so we're going to call this one gift card liability, and we'll spell that correctly. And then we'll do Save and New. And what was the other one that they were asking for? The undeposited funds, of course. So let's create an undeposited funds account. Okay, there we go. There should always be an undeposited funds. But this specific one, that's fine. Let's just call it undeposited funds. That's good. And I do save and close. So now that I have all the accounts in there, I can refresh my settings and then map that correctly. So what you will find is when we're dealing with novice users, or even accountants that they know QuickBooks very well, they'll connect the apps and won't pay attention to the mapping, and they'll create a complete disaster in the mapping, and that's going to be basically the beginning of the end of a clean QuickBooks file. So syncing up all the accounts, perfect. So I got my Shopify sales income account, my gift card liability, my PayPal bank account, and my undeposited funds. Then we have payment fees. So QuickBooks is going to create an account called Shopify Holding. You actually don't even have the choice to change that. And then it says bank account for deposit payouts. This is where when Shopify, this is more for like Stripe. So when Stripe actually deposits the net of the money, you want to choose which bank account is going to be used to bring that money in there. And we also have our payout fees and adjustment account. So let's go back into chart of accounts, go to new, and then let's create our Chase credit card, because let's say that's where the money is going to be deposited. and this will actually sync up with that, which is really good. And I'm also going to create an account called, let's do a cost of goods sold, and let's do other, and we call this one Shopify merchant fees. So this is going to record all the fees that Shopify or the merchant is charging per transaction. So I go back into my mapping and I'll be able to complete that mapping. So hopefully this gives you an idea of kind of like, how long it takes and how much thought you have to put into syncing any apps together, because mapping is key. And again, I would love to take Brittany's take when she comes in. She's coming in about 15 minutes. Her take on what are some of the disasters that she sees, and maybe she can give us some tips and tricks on how to clean up issues from before. In some cases, you might have to start over because the mess might be too big. Where is my expense category? Of course. So I didn't even think of this. You can't even map it to a cost of goods sold account. Geez. Okay, it needs to be an expense account. So I need to go back in here. And of course, this is what I mean by that this app is horrible. All right, so I'm going to change that to an expense category, hit save and close, go back and refresh my mapping again. So all these little nuances. And this is why if you are going to work with e-commerce, you should specialize in e-commerce, because we're just dealing with one app, QBO and Shopify. And so you can imagine dealing with 3-4 channels, different desktop and QuickBooks online, multi-channel accounting. Every app pretty much is going to have its own set of nuances and issues. Okay, I'm going to leave sales taxes out of the way for now because I don't have sales tax enabled in this account because I don't sell in Florida. And let's do, okay, so this is the next setting. Okay, so when the products come into QuickBooks, what are those products called? Should it be the title and the variant, or should it be the SKU? And basically what this is telling me is, how do I match in Shopify? I have multiple names for accounts. How do I match it with my QuickBooks name or with my QuickBooks item list? I typically like to use the SKU. So in other words, every SKU I have in Shopify will have an accompanying SKU in QuickBooks Online. Then it tells me there's a key question here, and this is actually a key question across all sorts of e-commerce integrations. Do you want to bring in sales receipt by customer? In other words, I want every single customer in QuickBooks to be its own entity, or do I not want that and have a single generic customer called whatever, Shopify customer? So I'm actually going to do export the customer's name and do one by one. Then the next question is, do we automatically export daily? I'm going to say yes to that. So I'm going to okay with automatically exporting. And then here's the price plan because it only gives me 30 orders a month. I'm okay with that. And then click on complete setup. Okay. Then the first question is, hey, on this very first sync, how much data do you want to bring in? So I want to bring in data, for example, let's say from July 1st to today. And I'm going to go ahead and click on export and run export. And this is going to bring all my orders from July up to today into my QuickBooks Online. Okay. So Melissa Barton is asking, does it only read service SKUs or inventory SKUs? So Melissa, it actually depends on what item you have. So if your SKU is an inventory item, it will connect to the inventory item. If your SKU is a service item, it will connect to the service item. So it's really based on what the SKUs are in QuickBooks. Can you create item categories in Shopify? No. So Shopify is just either item-based or SKU-based, not category-based. So if you need something sophisticated like an item with a sub-item or a category with an item, I probably recommend using something like WebGility, which actually allows you to do item by item. So Victoria says the Shopify change, it only used to import service item types. So Victoria, if the items are being created by Shopify, because they're not in QuickBooks, yes, it will create them as a service item. But if the service items are already created in QuickBooks Online as inventory prior to your sync, and the SKU numbers match the Shopify item name that's being synced in, it will actually use that inventory item. All right, so let me go back into QuickBooks Online and see if anything has been imported yet, and it looks like it is. So let me give you an idea of what's going on here. So I'm going to go into my orders, and these are all the orders that I've had for the last couple of months. So in QuickBooks Online, let me go back into QuickBooks Online. I'm going to open one of these. So let's look at this one here. And for some reason, it's bringing all orders even from before. I don't know why that's happening, but that's okay. So here's an order here from this customer. They paid a total of $1,399.95. Here's the SKU number. Here's the description. Here's the price. And this is order 1691. So I'm going to go into Shopify. I'm going to go into orders. I'm going to search 1691. And there it is. I'm going to click on it. And here's my actual order. So the specific product that I sold, the SKU number, the price, the customer's information, all that stuff flows through into QuickBooks Online. So, by the way, this is awesome. Yeah, this worked actually perfectly. This is exactly what you're expecting sync software to do, right? Bring the data in, all the details. It even has a link here. Look at this beauty. It has a link under message that I can copy and paste, go into any browser, paste that, and it goes straight into the order. So in many ways, this app works perfectly. The problem is the functionality and the customization, it's very limited. So you really can't design a whole lot of workflows around it, which is why you want to use something more sophisticated like Webgility. Like for example, in Shopify, there's multiple levels of orders. I mean, there's fulfilled, unfulfilled, paid, not paid. There's partially fulfilled. We have refunded, voided, non-voided, authorized. Shopify has multiple layers of what that transaction might be. And with this app, you can't choose. Everything comes in. So everything comes in no matter what. So if you have something being voided or being canceled, you have to go back into QuickBooks and manually cancel it. So it has its own nuances. But if you're only selling 20 to 30 units per month or something like that, and you're really not managing inventory or have to map any items, this actually works really, really well. Now, the earlier question is, if the item is not in QuickBooks, how does it get created? So I'm going to go into my products and services here real quick. And then notice that, actually I didn't show you that before, but this was completely blank. So the Shopify Sync app actually created every one of these items. And these are all non-inventory items. So it creates it as a non-inventory item when it's a new one. But if the item was already an inventory item, it would behave just like an inventory item. So that kind of gives you an idea how that works. Okay, now I'm going to run a quick profit and loss report just so we can see the significance of this. So I'm going to go into reports, profit and loss, and let me do last year, and then click on run report. And I have my Shopify sales, $25,000. I have my Shopify merchant fees, which as you notice, I couldn't use cost of goods sold category for that. It had to be an expense. And this right here, I don't know what this is. That's a refund. So that's a good example. So there was a refund and I couldn't map refunds to something else. So for whatever crazy reason, this refund came into a generic category called sales. Something that, so I don't have control over telling how refunds come in. I don't know the product being refunded. It is a Shopify sale, that's for sure. But these are some of the limitations of the app itself, right? I can't control, like it's a good example. I couldn't control my refunds. it doesn't have any details. So I have to actually go into the specific item, see which is the underlying product that was being refunded, go back into QuickBooks, and I guess I have to make a correction and change the item in this one. So that's just one great example of some of the limitations that it has, right? So that limitation that it has, where it refunds us and manage it really well. So save and close. So good thing that it happened there, because you kind of see the issue there. But other than that, I mean, this is what you expect from an app, right? The data comes in. If I open any of the invoices, let me look at them. Here's the data. Here's a discount. So I do have coupon codes in my website, which goes into a default discount account. That's not bad. I mean, that's pretty good. I'm really nothing against that. So yeah, so that's it. Now, one thing to pay attention to is payment method and deposit to. So depending on how they're paying me, notice that some pay me via PayPal and some pay me via Shopify. So if I go into it's actually Stripe, but they call it Shopify payments. So I'm going to go into my balance sheet now and show you what's going on here. So in my balance sheet, we're going to have all my PayPal accounts, all my PayPal payments going to my PayPal bank account. Let me do a select all here. So here all my PayPal money coming in. So these are all the people that paid me via PayPal. So that's sitting in my PayPal account. And then I have all the people paying me through Shopify. So at some point, there would be an actual money transfer between, let me do, this is kind of crazy. Let me see. These are supposedly all the money transfers, but I see a glitch there because I didn't have that many money transfers in one day. So it looks like for some reason after the 20th, it just went crazy. Look at that. That's crazy. Crazy indeed. All right, anyway, so here's all the, let me minimize this. These are all the payments that I got via Stripe, okay, which is called Shopify Holding, and you see all the monies coming in here.